What is the planetonic field of thought? Now, let's not confuse it with the Planetonic Field or the Planck. This field is localized yet multidimensional. Let me begin explaining where it's located. Earth is a round. We know this, but when we think of a planet, we're thinking land, atmosphere, and space. That all planets are designed this way. When I say Earth is a round, in many ways it's its own universe, which means that it's an encapsulated ecosystem all of its own, with its own rules, its own laws, its own habitats that are native to Earth. Which means also that if we were to travel to another realm, like Uranus or Jupiter, anywhere, that we should not expect it, the physics, I should say, and the things that we call the laws of science or whatever, to those realms are not going to obey to what we think is true. From magnetism to how light behaves, none of it. Because the truth that we know applies to Earth. Now, there may be some crossovers, but I don't want to get sidetracked by that. So, Earth is a realm, okay? And this realm is designed with 12 layers above Earth's crust. We have 12 layers of an atmosphere. We've only passed the first one. And that second, if you want to say, stratosphere, which is what we call the second layer, try to keep going. That's where the moon is. We call it outer space, where it's really still part of Earth. And you keep going and keep going and keep going. Still Earth. Okay. Now, below what we see on the surface, there's 12 layers down. We've acknowledged many of it, the mantle, the metallic core, or whatever. Look, I don't follow mainstream science, so bear with me. So we've discovered those layers, right? We know it's all about magnetism in many ways, but what most people don't understand or know is that at the core of Earth there is Ceres, the red sun, and the second layer out is liminal space or void space, just like outside our realm is void. Okay, without getting too deep into the functions of Ceres and how the realm is made, I want to point at those records that extend from this realm. Now that I just defined what the realm is, there's the records are stored in that space that's accessible throughout the whole realm. And the higher you, I'm trying to be careful with word choice. Okay, I don't use them to try to explain this, but I gotta learn, right? The higher or the further you ascend from the core, the more distorted it is, which is why we have Mercury. Mercury is not a planet. Mercury is a communication hub that helps us access records beyond this realm. And okay, trying to stay on track here. The planetonic field covers the realm. Okay, now that you know where it is, let me explain what it is. It stores the events, it's our thoughts, our actions, basically what we call time, which is the series of events. We tap into this field, especially people who practice mediumship and Akashic readings. We tap into this and we call it the Akashic record, right? But as I was explaining before about the matters of the mind, we all tap into this anyway with our inner monologue. That's where our subconscious is. That's where our minds are, local, local or multidimensional. Let's not forget that. So if you notice, those who tap into the Akashic records, you're looking at earthbound events. You don't tap into the Akashic records and be like, oh, okay, they doing that on Mars today. Nice. Not saying that you can't, but you get my drift. It's about Earth. And to access records beyond Earth is a different process for, okay, we'll talk about that another day too. I have spoke about the Akashic records and the levels of access. I will sum it up by saying think of it as library. At this level, everybody has access to the local library, community access. Everybody can get in there. If you want to access things outside of this realm, and if you want to access outside of this realm, you're going to need a certain level of clearance, and I will go into that another time. So, I wanted to give you an idea of what we're talking about. Now, staying on topic is hard for me, but I'm going to get this thing. Y'all see, y'all going to be proud of me. It's a lot easier for me to write. That's why I'm making these master classes and books. But hold on now. There has been interference with this field. I have seen devices under the ground because, mind you, there are beings under the ground. There's levels to this. We are not the only things living. Of course, we know that because I mean we're surrounded by life, but we're not the only ones living on Earth as apex beings or whatever you want to call it. They're not necessarily aliens either because they're Earthlings, okay? But they're just not up here with us. There's layers that look a lot like this under the Earth, okay? And I did see the look. I was like, go off topic again. Point is, there's devices under the ground that were purposely distorting these fields. I've seen obelisks. I've seen a lot of things. And one of the cosmic laws is not to interfere with planetonic communication. That is how sometimes our thoughts get hijacked. Sometimes it's not just reaching out to outside beings. Sometimes you're being manipulated. And I know that a lot of conspiracy theories got scoffed at and everything, but it's very possible. I've witnessed it. I've heard some of the signals. They're like subliminals. I'm a witness, okay? That's all I can say. But it's not allowed, okay? So, what I'm going to do in the near future is go more in depth about the matters of the mind on the sonic field, how you can protect yourself, how to tap into the deeper levels, and basically have more control and sovereignty over your thoughts. Stay tuned. Got more. Like and follow.